Okay, class. So this week we are going to be looking at Tim Burton. Tim Burton is our artist of the week. Right, so a little bit about Timothy Walter Burton, which is his full name. He was born August 25th, 1958, and he is still currently alive. He is from Burbank, California. He majored in animation at the California Institute of Arts, also known as Cal Arts. He's an American animator, artist, director, producer, and screenwriter. Right. So Timothy Walter Burton. Upon graduating from the California Institute of Art, he began working as an animator for the Walt Disney Studios. He was later let go for wasting resources and was only hired back after he did so well with Batman. So as a child, Burton was engrossed with the classic horror films of Roger Corman, which featured screen villain Vincent Price. So engrossed, guys, means kind of like obsessed. So Burton uses his unhappy childhood as an influence in his work. As a child, Burton was unhappy and he felt isolated. He felt like he was an outcast, lonely, and attacked by others. So a lot of us can maybe relate in our everyday lives. Burton gets his inspiration from German expressionist films. He creates these whimsical fantasy worlds that are a little bit dark and melancholy. Right. So you can go back in. I'm going to upload the slides and you can go back in and you can play these videos. There's two. This first one is about his time at Disney, where he produced his short Vincent, which is a small, like 5-minute animation. You can see he uses a stop motion picture to create this short called Vincent. Right? So the second video, if you want to watch it, it's a interview that MoMA did at the Modern Museum of Art in New York. They did this interview with Tim Burton, and he kind of speaks a little bit about his artwork and what it was like at Cal Arts. Right, so you might know him from these different movies, from Beetlejuice, The Corpse Bride, The Nightmare Before Christmas, Edward Scissorhands, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Even the original Batman. So he's produced and directed these films. Right, so let's take a look at his concept art because that's where I want our focus to be. So Tim Burton is known for these whimsical dark worlds, but let's look at some of his concept art. So here we have his concept for Beetlejuice, and you can see the production piece. So this is what was actually produced. You can see that his concept art is very similar. So when they produced the piece, they made the outfit the same. So you see the pinstripes on Beetlejuice, you see the wild hair, the dark eyes. So when he creates his concept arts for these characters, when they put it into production, they keep it pretty much the same. So this one was released March 30th, 1988. All right, so another one would be The Nightmare Before Christmas, which released October 13th, 1993. And you can see the concept art for Jack and Sally. So as we go through and look at this concept art, I want you to think about the differences that you see in the similarities. Does his concept art have a style? And if so, what is that style? Right, so this is the concept art he did for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Remember, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is not his story, but he was set to direct it when they reproduced it. So this version was released July 10th, 2005, and he wanted to show maybe the darker side of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You do see that here in the concept art as well. And again, the concept art is similar to what was produced for the film. You can see he used watercolor for this one. It's pretty interesting. All right, so the next piece is The Corpse Bride. So The Corpse Bride was released September 16th, 2005. And again, you can see his concept art. Looks like he used a mixture of watercolor and pens. But look how wide he makes the eyes. He's very expressive in his art. And you can see that that gets translated into the animation. Um, so pay attention to like the lines. All right, so the next one is Alice in Wonderland, which was released March 5th, 2010. So you can see again his concept art for these. They're pretty spot on and similar to the production piece, to what was produced for the film. So keep in mind that he doesn't really care about doing things perfect. You can see that his designs here, he has maybe some wobbly lines. He's not trying to have straight edges, but it adds to the whimsical, melancholy worlds that he creates. All right, so this one was for Frankenweenie. Frankenweenie released October 5th, 2012. You can see the stitches on the dog. So Frankenweenie is kind of based off of like Frankenstein. Hopefully you all know what Frankenstein is. So he tries to bring his dog Sparky back to life. And you see that in the concept art. You can see the production piece is still very similar to what he's created. All right, so a little bit of information on concept art. So concept art is a form of illustration used to convey an idea for use in film, video games, animation, comic books, or other media. Before it is put into the final product, concept art usually refers to world-building artwork used to inspire the development of media products, and it is not the same as visual development art, though they're often confused. So that's why I wanted to point out some of the different artworks that he's done for these films, because as you can see, the artwork is pretty much spot on. They use his artwork, and then basically that's what you get in the production piece. They don't change it very much. All right, so here's some other good examples of his concept art. This one was the Joker for the original Batman film, which he directed. We also have Edward Scissorhands, which is another great movie that he directed. And we have here the Sleepy Hollow. So you can see the dark and the melancholy. Look at his lines. Again, he's not worried about perfection. He's more worried about tone as he's drawing. At this one here, you can see the frustration in the little mummy's face. It's almost humorous. You could say there's a bit of dark humor here. So I want you to keep that in mind as you think of the Burton style. All right, so here's some other ones. These have a little bit more color. They have a little bit more detail. So tell me, what do you see? Which elements of design can you point out in these pieces? Right. So the artist's process. So this is an article, and I'm going to have this posted in your folders if you want to read it. But Burton's key themes and storylines are evident. Creatures transforming from one thing into another, quirky children attempting to make sense of equally odd adults, skeletons mingling with humans. So these are all elements that he includes in his pieces. All right, and then Burton's emphasis on exaggeration, distortion, and fantasy parallel with the works of many artists throughout history, particularly that of German expressionists. So this is where he gets a lot of his influence from. All right, so to brainstorm for your project, think about these 5 questions. What do you see? How does this art make you feel? What do you notice about the Tim Burton style? Is there a repeated theme in Tim Burton's art and film? And the last one, can you relate to his artwork? All right, and they're also included the elements and principles. So if you want to compare and see which kind of elements or principles that he's using